Welcome to Adjusted Reality, a podcast series trusted by the adjusted and brought to you by the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress, where we learn from athletes, celebrities, influencers, and healthcare professionals about how to optimize health in a fun, relatable way. Join me, Dr. Sherry McAllister, as I speak to Krista Williams and Lindsey Simcik, creators and hosts of Almost 30, a top-rated lifestyle podcast, media platform, and community about finding balance in business as successful entrepreneurs and how to prioritize health during busy seasons. With over 400 episodes and more than 30 million downloads, it is no wonder why the Almost 30 podcast has been nominated for Best Wellness Podcast and Best Spirituality Podcast by iHeartRadio. Hosts Krista Williams and Lindsey Simcik are your virtual best friends, impactful female founders and seasoned event speakers, as seen on the stages of Create and Cultivate, BlogHer and POPSUGAR Playground, to name just a few. Almost 30 is the go-to place for heart-centered, hilarious conversations, real, raw, and impactful interviews. In each episode, Krista and Lindsey dive deep into everything from modern spirituality, health and wellness, entrepreneurship, mental health, to self-development. Almost 30 hosts life-changing events, retreats, as well as provides courses, workbooks, and programs to assist you in your spiritual and emotional evolution. I am so grateful to have both of you on today. Thank you for bringing your energy, time, and wisdom to today's Adjusted Reality podcast.
So excited to be here. I feel like we need to trim our bio a little bit. It's getting a little bit redundant, but
I was reminded of what we do.
That's right. Same. Sometimes you need a little pump up yourself, but we're so grateful to be here. I feel like health and wellness and everything that we're going to be talking about today is something that Lindsey and I are so deeply passionate about, and we're always students of life. So sharing anything that we've tried or experienced or that works for us along the way is something that we truly, truly love to do.
Well, that's the best part to starting this Adjusted Reality podcast off, is really sometimes your reality does get adjusted as we go through the experiences. I like to say oftentimes we're going to grow through what we go through, and so many things in life just happen that way. So having so much incredible success, the two of you started this, you've been doing it now for years. Let me ask you, how did Almost 30 become a reality?
So we started Almost 30 when we were in our late 20s. I met Lindsey when I was pursuing a passion of being a SoulCycle instructor. So I was in the corporate world and I wanted to change. I felt really unhappy in the jobs that I had. I felt really unfulfilled spiritually in what I was doing. And I thought SoulCycle was going to be it. I thought it was going to be my dream job. So I auditioned, didn't get it the first time. And on the second try, I wanted to get some help from someone that knew. And Lindsey was a SoulCycle instructor herself. So we connected. And although I didn't get my second SoulCycle audition, we met each other and we just had this instant connection and this realization that we were going through really monumental transitions in our life, that we felt like we couldn't be the only ones. In your late 20s, you're going through what astrology calls a Saturn return. Your prefrontal cortex is coming online and you're making really, really big decisions. It's when you're deciding about your career, your relationships, your friends, your health. There's just a lot of things going on. So we started the show with just a genuine curiosity and hope to get some answers of questions that we had interest in. And eventually it turned into a community, it turned into a brand, it turned into a business. But our overall goal and intention is to help people feel less alone in their evolution and their journey, and to just be curious about everything that we're interested in.
Outstanding. You know, the one piece that in today's world that does become an important aspect is that you said alone. You know, we don't want people to be alone. And in Lindsey, Tell me for you, even though I wish I was in a room with both of you, because I feel like our energy is really powerful. But Lindsey, tell me from your perspective, how do you feel you're touching the hearts and minds, even though you're not in the room with them, and you're bringing them out of that kind of feeling of isolation?
Yeah, it's been a profound experience for me because I feel like in my teens and into my early 20s, I really felt like I had to do things by myself. I think someone told me at some point that I'm an independent woman and I need to do this by myself. And, I was listening to a podcast on the Tim Ferriss show the other day with Dr. Sue Thompson, and she was emphasizing that we're not self-sufficient human beings. We really thrive off of being in relationship, and especially, when we are going through transitions like this 20s to your 30s season. I feel like the relationships that I made and cultivated during that time really helped me to see myself for who I really was, reminded me of the truth. And I think just that connection and love and being seen by another person just gave me so much confidence and energy to get through those really hard times. But what we've seen in our community is just this remembrance. I, to this day, like on our membership live hangs every single month, I'll see people light up in the chat. They're like, oh my gosh, me too. And I thought I was alone. Me too. I've been going through this and I've been feeling, quote, crazy, but I know I'm not crazy. You're going through this too. Would love to connect, kind of like off of this call. And so I know that part of Almost 30's mission is to really remind people that what they are going through, what is personal, is universal, and is the vulnerable thing that I believe creates real connection and real relationships.
This is a opportunity for many in the space of business to connect with two very successful female entrepreneurs. And that can have a lot of struggles, as we all know. I'm going to ask both of you, what struggles have you found with business and how did you handle them?
I think for Lindsey and I, it never really stops, to be honest. We kind of come up with something new every single day. I think at the beginning, it was a lot of mindset. It was a lot of having the belief that we could actually run a business, that we could be profitable, that we could figure out taxes, that we could figure out the legal part, that we could do all of this full time. So for the first 2 years, we were working full-time jobs while we built the business. And there's a lot of mindset that you have to continue to check in on. Like if you believe yourself enough to figure out the answers, to be resourceful, to get your work done, all of that. So it was first mindset, and it still continues to be mindset as one of the really, really great struggles. And then for Lindsey and I, we're co-founders and we're two women that have dreams and that have opinions and that have voices. And we've had to really make our relationship a huge priority within the business. If you're a single founder of a company or have a side hustle, there's different struggles and challenges that you go through because you don't have someone that you can have as a support. But Lindsey and I have really, really had to work on our relationship and make sure that we are trusting one another. We are honest with one another. We are showing up for one another. We are supporting one another. And there's just really, really a huge depth of intimacy in our relationship that we have to continue to foster, not only for a successful business, but also for a successful podcast. Because Lindsey and I, if we're two co-hosts, we have to have good energy. We have to, really practice what we preach and support and love one another on the show. And then I think today, the biggest issue and struggle for us really is like, pivoting when we feel like it's right. I think for any business owner, you're going to want to pivot or make changes in your business or the way you show up or the way you're structured or the way your team is all of the time, and having the confidence in yourself and what you're doing enough to make those decisions as they come up or even in advance, so that you're not making decisions behind the eight ball that could affect you negatively. So Lindsey and I have to continuously evolve the business and pivot the business whenever we need, and check in with one another to make sure that that's the right thing.
That's a really important aspect, as you just noted, especially having the intimate relationship, and that's communication, relationship building, and constant communication. As a business owner, I think many out there that are struggling because, some have had their business shut down for a period of time, and it's that pivot that creates your next step. Hey, this happened, but we can build something new. We can, if you're thriving, if you're out there listening today and there's been some heavy hits to your business, I think these two ladies shine when it comes to pivot. Let's get this moving. Lindsey, tell me a story about a struggle that the Almost 30 podcast had, and how you pivoted and saw that success.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of businesses, 2020 presented so many unknowns and unexpected challenges. And for us, I mean, we had planned a festival. We lost thousands and thousands of dollars in that investment. We had planned to go on a live show tour again. And with COVID and everything going on, we canceled that. And it was disappointing, but it was also one of our biggest blessings yet, because we were able to then work on things behind the scenes of the business that we had been meaning to tend to. And so it was really a year for us to refortify Almost 30. So that was looking at the structure of the team, our systems, our flow, anything that felt like it had run its course and we could let go, as far as like a revenue stream or anything that we were involved in. And so it was such a blessing. And what we also did was launch our membership. So this is a completely virtual offering where women all over the world can join. And we offer workshops, resources, meditations, affirmations, live hangs, giveaways, and just a way to really connect. And, like we were talking before, I think it's more important than ever that we are connecting on that level. And so, yeah, it was a scary time because we just didn't know what would work. We didn't know if we would make back the money that we had lost for the festival and all of that. But I think we're really good at acting quickly and trusting our intuition and activating the team to kind of see and execute our new vision. And that's what we did.
It's rewarding to hear that successful entrepreneurs get these hits, and it's how you kind of pick yourself off and dust yourself off. And really the saying that I have two teenagers that I often share with them is setbacks are set up for comebacks. And the life will throw you all sorts of magnificent challenges, and the two of you have clearly made an impact, not only in the space on podcasts, but you've really brought together a community of listeners that love the authenticity, and that kind of has an impact on so many things in your life. When you come and you show up and you're authentic, everybody sees it. And the two of you have built that authentic community on sharing. What does that mean? But tell me a little bit. There's struggles, obviously, when you're a business person that come up in your health, whether it be that physical or mental health challenge. Tell me how you both deal with the mental and physical health challenges with being so busy and so much going on in your lives.
Yeah, I think for us at the beginning, because we were working our full-time jobs, and I had a corporate job where I would commute like 2 hours a day. I would go downtown and back every day. And then I'd sit at my desk most of the day working my 9 to 5 job and then kind of sneak in almost 30 stuff as much as I could. I was, pretty unactive, and I was really, really stressed. I wanted this thing so bad. I wanted to get out of my corporate job. And I really didn't know how to balance it all. So I went through a hormone health, series of episodes or issues where I had really high estrogen, really low testosterone. My cortisol was messed up. My cortisol was firing at the wrong times. And I had adrenal fatigue. So I, at one point, would just be completely unwell. If I had any sip of caffeine or any stimulant at all, I'd find myself sleeping in the middle of the day. I just felt nauseous all the time. And my body really, really reacted, where I had very quickly put on a lot of weight and felt incredibly uncomfortable in my body. So because I wasn't listening to, my body when it asked for more rest or more meditation or more sleep or more slow walks or more balance, it got to this point where I had to listen to it and really, really be mindful of how I was going to heal and balance my hormones naturally and really support my adrenals. So after that point, I went on a journey of getting my hormones tested and then figuring out what natural ways I could support my health. And a lot of that was, no caffeine, more fats in my diet, slower walks, less HIIT workouts, more meditation, and things that would really support the nourishment and the restorative nature of who we are. So I learned a lot about the fact of we can't do it all, even though as much as we want to, we really cannot. And once we have an issue with our health, or our health isn't supporting us in our goals, that's when we tend to listen. But now Lindsey and I are both so much more proactive about our health. Like, it is a non-negotiable for us to do the things that we do in the day and at night and, in our morning routine. And that has supported us so much in showing up each day with a lot of energy, a lot of vigor, a lot of excitement to do what it is that we want to do.
Well, you used a lot of words that I know my podcast listeners are hearing right now, that they've heard with several different guests, and they're really important. And the way you put it together is special too. You used the word balance, and you also shared the key to rejuvenating. That doesn't mean, for all of us, we've all had those really, "Oh, my body hurts, I'm tired." And we've had the fittest man in the world on, and his name is Rich Froning. And I often wondered, how do you keep the pace? And one of the things resonating is keeping the pace, to try to keep up with that peak performance, is allowing your body to recover. And Lindsey, tell me how when it's super stressful and things are kind of, things are falling off the plate and you're trying to keep it together, how do you recover?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I met like the idea of recovery very late in the game. I was, just to give you background, I was a SoulCycle instructor for years, as Krista mentioned earlier. And I really thought that the key to being good at what I did was to do as much as possible, to teach as many classes, to add on extra workouts in addition to the classes that I took. And the point was to be as exhausted as possible by the end of the day. And that felt like an accomplished day. Not necessarily a good day, but an accomplished day.
Understood.
Yeah. And, I've really... I've heeded that lesson now in almost 30, because, Krista and I definitely had seasons where we were just running ourselves into the ground. We were working late nights. We were working weekends. We were doing more interviews than we could handle during the day, and traveling a ton. And what we know now is that it is the time in between. It is the rest and recovery. It is getting 8+ hours of sleep. It is nourishing our bodies with whole, natural foods. It is being mindful of what we are consuming, through our computers and our phones, on TV, music, who we are surrounding ourselves with, because it's very... If you tune in, and all of us can do this, is this giving me energy or is this taking energy away from me? And so I've just been really, really mindful of that. I'm almost like too sensitive to that now, where I'm like, ooh, yeah, this definitely exhausts me. And so, yeah, those things that I listed, I think the sleep, nourishing my body, being mindful of who I'm surrounding myself with, and then also making sure that I spend time with myself to kind of recalibrate and check in and just ask, like, what do you need? Like, where does it feel like you are depleted? How can I support you in that? How are you feeling? Is there anything that feels unexpressed? Is there anything that you can express in your relationships that can move some energy? I'm prone to kind of like keeping things in, and that can manifest physically. So I'm just very, very aware of that. And it's really a blessing to have Krista as a partner, because I feel like we're on the same page with that, where we can really hold each other to that standard of rest, recovery, and constantly just taking care of ourselves, because we know that if we don't, almost 30 will not be.
That balance is critical. And as chiropractors around the nation are focusing with their patients to try to build that balance, you said so many fabulous things, which is you have to get the sleep, you have to get the hydration, especially when you're traveling. And the two of you have traveled a lot. You're carrying the purse, you've got the luggage, it's rolling, it's heavy, you're tired, and then you're putting it in the overhead compartment, and you come back, you almost feel guilty for taking a day off. Your body needs that, right? From the constant push that you have to do, especially when traveling. So it's probably been a little refreshing just to be able to ground yourself, neutralize, and try to figure out where is the imbalance. And you said a very interesting, and I think something that to pick up on for the audience is when you talk about relationships, because that's part of our balance, is the people that surround us and the things that we actually bring into our environment, particularly when it comes to social media, because there's a lot of negativity out there. And that recovery, and how does it impact? And I'll throw this question over to you, Krista, is mental health wise, because you're in the social media space and you're building community, and there is plenty of opportunity for negative. Let's hear from you on building your mental wellness strategy, the good, the bad, and maybe the ugly.
Yes, this is something that Lindsey and I have definitely had to work on. We have our days of struggle and challenge, and it's not easy to be exposed to the ideas and thought systems and beliefs and triggers and opinions of hundreds of thousands of people and thousands of people all over the world. That's not something that in our evolution we're really used to. We're not really used to the opinions outside of our local community or our tribe or our family. So it's been something that Lindsey and I really, really have to temper and really work with. And I think over the past couple of years have gotten so much more resilient and strong. The first time we received a negative review, it feels like you're just completely heartbroken and you feel like a failure. You don't even know what to do with yourself. And then over time, as you see more and more, you realize that it doesn't kill you, it doesn't hurt you. And you also really get to know what we believe personally is like these reviews and the feedback and the comments show up as a mirror for Lindsey and I to really understand where we feel small still. So if someone says something, like, hey, your show is a piece of crap, and we're like, okay. If we believed that somewhere in us, or had maybe the subconscious belief that our show really wasn't good, that's going to be really triggering for us. That's going to really, really bother us. But if we truly believe in our hearts that our show is good and what we're doing is good, that will not trigger us in the way that it would if we had the subconscious belief or the insecurity that our show was actually bad. So we really used all of the feedback as an example or a guide for us to really get stronger, to feel less small, to feel more confident. And then we also have really been mindful about our boundaries. Lindsey and I used to be two people that were constantly in our DMs, that were constantly in our messages, that would reply to every single thing we saw, email, anything from our community. And it's not like our community is not deeply important to us, but we want to model to them that we don't need to reply to every single thing. You don't need to really kill yourself to, be spending so much time in the space of reaction rather than creation. Lindsey and I are really here to be the creators of the show rather than constantly reacting in that engagement with the community. So I think really working on your subconscious to really make sure that you're seeing where you could potentially be small by these potential triggers, and then being mindful of your boundaries and really, really taking time for you, because it's really all about how you show up, and it is very hard. So I definitely have compassion and feel for anyone in the space. But if you are meant to do this and you're meant to be a leader, it really, really comes with the territory.
It does. And that is a critical component when you start thinking about how you allow the outside in, and where do you let it sit. And the successful business owner or the successful workplace employee has to have that balance of how much do I want to take on? What am I going to be successful at? And when I do get unfortunate negative news, how do I hold that? Do I allow it to sit in my heart? Do I process it through my brain? Or do I just say, I recognize it. It's something I can reflect on. And in the future, if there was something positive out of it, maybe I can work on that. And because both of you have been through what you've been through in building a successful, balanced business, as you look at the big picture, and the audience is thinking, I'm working in my workplace, but it feels really unbalanced, or I'm starting a business, or I'm working a business, and COVID hit us really hard, and I'm trying to regain that energy and competitive note. I'm going to ask both of you, what would you say to our listeners? You've given some very important information with triggers and resilience. Would be three action steps that they could use right away as soon as they get off this podcast and they're like ready to go. You've inspired and motivated and you've impassioned them for success. Let's hear from both of you. Things that have worked for you, that three action steps they could take with them on their journey being successful business people.
That's a big one. Okay. So the first thing that comes to mind for me, and it might feel a little counterintuitive because I feel like building a business is so outwardly focused. But, if I could go back, there's very few things that I would change because we are where we are now because of all of that. But I do think building that relationship with myself as a business owner has been now just one of the most important pieces. So what I mean by that is, are you taking time? Are you building in time into this work day, into your schedule to do a self-check-in? Whether that's meditation, journaling, perhaps it's feeling into your body, maybe doing a little breath work. All of these, seemingly woo-woo things have been actual foundational pieces of how we show up as leaders, managers, and business owners. So my advice would be to take that seriously. Take seriously that time with yourself on a daily basis to check in, to connect to your intuition, because so much of business, I believe in building a unique, successful business, is trusting your intuition. A lot of these entrepreneurs who are super successful today, say with big name businesses like a Peloton or a Zoom, I guarantee there were people in the beginning that said, you're absolutely crazy. This is very weird. This idea sucks and you should go back to the drawing board. And I am sure that there was a strong intuitive pull to keep going because they knew and trusted the vision. And I think cultivating that relationship with yourself is the foundation of all of that.
And Krista, what would you give our audience on that?
I would say two things really come to mind prominently. And I say the first thing is being really honest with yourself. I feel like when I started to get brutally honest with myself in my life, and one of the first ways I got honest with myself during my spiritual awakening, or even my realization of my desire to be an entrepreneur, was I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking for about 5 years. I drink maybe once or twice a year. What stopping drinking did was helped me get really, really honest about how I was spending my time, how I was spending my money, how I was spending my weekends, how I was connecting with people, and how I was really, really wasting a lot of time, wasting a lot of energy, and wasting a lot of my gifts and my talents doing this thing that wasn't helping me in my future at all. So once you make a hard decision that really benefits you, that you can be really honest with yourself about, it kind of gets addicting. So other ways that I found out I needed to be more honest with myself was, how much time was I procrastinating on social media or watching TV when I could be investing in my health, my wellness, or my business? How many relationships was I spending time with people that wasn't really fulfilling me or wasn't really supporting my dream or my vision for the future? Or what parts of me and my insecurities were showing up in the business as well? What parts of my past were showing up in Lindsey and I's relationship that were not really serving the both of us? So your honesty with yourself will be one of the greatest indicators for the growth that you will have in the future. And although it's really, really hard, we really, really have to be honest with ourselves as entrepreneurs, because you're not really getting feedback from a boss or a manager or a vice president or anyone at your company, because you essentially are the company. So as honest as you are with yourself will be as far as you can go. And then I think importantly, as a second piece, having a support system is going to be incredibly important for you in your business or entrepreneurial or, even your corporate world feat. When I was in the corporate world for 8 years, most of my friends were in the corporate world as well, which was so nourishing and fulfilling for my journey through that space. But when I moved to the entrepreneurial space, I really needed people that I could relate to on the issues and struggles that I was going through. And if I didn't have that, I would feel more alone. I would feel less supported. I would feel like it wasn't as possible as it was when I found friends that were in similar jobs or paths as I was. So for the people listening to the podcast, different chiropractors, different business owners, different people in the space that really can understand and relate to what you're doing. And when I really found that support system through Lindsey, through a coach, through other entrepreneurs in our space, I really felt like I could see answers to problems that we had within our business. I could see myself in them. I could see what's possible. And that really, really was instrumental for not only a networking opportunity, but for our mindset, and then for like a soul nourishment. So I really think it's important for people to find a support system, and then for them to get really, really honest with themselves.
Wow, ladies, that was plenty of opportunity for them to take it away. You summed it up in a way to which only some of the greatest people on earth could relate to, which is Walt Disney. I love how he has a very simple quote. It's something that a child could remember. It's something an adult could remember. And his quote is, "Keep moving forward." And ladies, you have done a remarkable way of doing that, adjusting to a pandemic, living through an unfortunate opioid epidemic, and creating community and support groups that really do make a huge difference. So I want to thank both of you sincerely for sharing your time, your talent, your wisdom, and the experience that you have brought to Adjusted Reality.
Thank you so much for having us. This was truly a gift.
Yeah, can't wait to connect with your community, and thank you for such a great conversation. This was amazing.
Thank you for tuning into Adjusted Reality as we spoke to Krista and Lindsey from the Almost 30 podcast about finding balance in business, the health struggles of today, and how to live your life as your authentic self. The takeaways: check in with yourself. It is important, as Lindsey noted, it's not foo-foo to spend time in meditation, taking time to breathe, exercise, and focus on yourself, as well as your intuitions. That's going to power you through those tough times. Honesty. Now, Krista noted that you must be honest in times of growth. Are you really doing what you love? Are you really enjoying yourself in the space you're in? And then last, support. Find a nurturing community that understands you and what you're going through. This podcast was brought to you by the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. As a special gift for listening today, visit f4cp.org/health to get a copy of our Mind, Body, and Spirit ebook, which focuses on many ways to optimize your health and the ones you love without the use of drugs or surgery. Don't forget to subscribe, share the podcast with family and friends, rate and review. If you're feeling inspired to learn more about chiropractic or find a doctor of chiropractic near you, visit f4cp.org/findadoctor. We appreciate your support and look forward to checking in with you again.